the glass, mics on the table, laugh as we pass.
I'm here with my colleagues, and it's a very special show today where we don't have our friend Tinashe. He's somewhere, so if you meet Tinashe in some city in South Africa or any part of the world, please just say hi to him and be nice to him. So I'm not here alone. I'm joined by you first, our special guest. I'll leave you for a bit. We have got a very special guest that I will ask to ask them to introduce themselves to you. But maybe before we do that, Shumba, welcome. As always, my brother.
Yeah. How was your week?
My week was great. I was just worried. It got quite chilly throughout the weekend.
Yeah, there's a nasty bug.
I don't do very well with this kind of weather.
The cold. Yeah. And most people don't enjoy the cold. Neither do I. I actually prefer the bright sunny days. So as a prophylactic, today I'm having brandy. Just in case I encounter that nasty bug, it will have to deal with the brandy first before it has access to me.
It's very interesting. I guess this is the time that we'll have to introduce our special guest to our viewers. And I must say, we are also in a very special venue. We are hosted by our friends at BancABC. And as you can see, the merchandise speaks to that. And we are all well kitted for that.
Yep. I like this gear.
And to our special guest, just introduce yourself the way you want.
I don't want to. Hi, I'm Tafadzwa. I'm the property sales manager for BancABC.
Thank you so much. Tafadzwa is a good friend of ours, but just thought let's give you an opportunity to just introduce herself to our Friday Drinks family. So tell us about the property sales. What do you do on a typical day?
We do a lot. We work with landowners to develop their properties.
Okay.
What we do is we only develop to stands. We don't then build houses or structures.
Okay.
And then we deal with people who are looking to buy stands. We are on the radio, on all platforms, selling our stands that we have all over Zimbabwe. And we are continuing to acquire more properties to be able to sell more to everyone who wants a stand.
Which ones have you developed so far?
We have stands in Tinwald.
Okay.
We have stands in Barrington, which is Harare South. We also have stands in Gweru. We have stands in Chishawasha that will be coming on the market soon, as well as in Glen Forest.
And so what does one have to bring to you guys? Do they have to be a depositor with you or some customer within the group? Or it's something different? What are the requirements? I'm thinking of someone that I shall not name that might really need that stand.
Well, we've made it less complicated for people. You don't have to bank with us. And because we believe everybody should be a property owner.
Okay.
So what we require is a proof of residence, copy ID, and proof of income, just to make sure your money is legit.
Okay, that's interesting. So that's on the customer side buying. Many in our audience will probably be on the other side where they own interesting pieces of land, but they don't have the capital to develop it. So how does that work on that side of the equation?
So whoever has land, we're hoping you'll have title deeds, compliance, you've paid your council. To get compliance, you would have had to do all of that, as well as the endowment fees. So we prefer people who own the property, who've done all the paperwork. And what we will do is come in and assist you with the financing to do the roads, the sewer, and all of those.
So does Ranga's farm title deed count?
Does he have one?
I was just about to ask. No, I've got an offer letter. Does it count?
No.
Okay, so to our friends in government, we need to upgrade the Rangas of this world from offer letters to title.
Well, it could work, but we'll have to see. We could discuss.
Yeah, but I think the good thing is we in the marketplace we are seeing government has got this program where it's offering deeds to people like me who have got off letters. Obviously, there are certain things that you need to put up front
To demonstrate,
before you-
Yeah.
But I would like to know, so what kind of which market segment are you guys targeting? Is it the high end, the low end? You're just looking at everyone across the spectrum.
It's everyone across the spectrum, sorry. But low to middle income, because high income can afford. We prefer to be able to give people, we want everyone to own land. So we're looking at properties, those who own land.
Okay.
We're trying to buy as low as possible to make sure that whatever we invest in, it still makes the price per square meter affordable for the ordinary person.
Okay. So you're selling them out as units or in blocks, and also do you offer mortgages to interested buyers?
So we sell individual stands, and then if you want to buy a block, you're free to do that. And we do offer mortgages. Our mortgages are at the moment for 5 years. I won't mention the interest rate,
Okay.
but it's very, very nice. Yes, but yeah, we anyone can come in, apply for a mortgage. If you have the right paperwork and you qualify, you're able to buy one of our stands.
So the guys on the land side of the equation, when they interact with you, you guys are coming through as an outright buyer. So you're not, you don't have hybrid transactions where maybe you own equity in the development of that land, or if I'm a landowner and I actually don't want to sell it, I want to develop it, but I don't have the capital. I want a loan
Yeah.
to develop the stands.
Yeah.
Is that also possible?
It is. So we're not trying to buy the land from you. We'll partner with you. So some will say, I just want a loan and they'll pay it back, or we'll give them the financing and then they'll give us the stands. Then we'll be able to sell that portion of our stands as BancABC. And then you remain with the rest of the land.
And Tafadzwa, how do you deal with the informal sector? We know they're the major employer
Yeah.
right now. So do they?
So they don't have pay slips for
Exactly.
sure.
And some of the informal sectors actually would look like they are formally employed, like professional people, but they're just informal for one
Yeah.
reason or another.
We deal with them in different ways.
In different ways,
Some
okay.
are banking, so
Okay.
we ask them for their bank statement.
Okay.
And then some will then show some proof of business. So whether it's you've procured something, so you have your invoices or your receipts or something. We understand it's informal. And I think if you've come to us and we've told you the price of the stand, the assumption is you're able to pay, because we also offer the stand to pay on installments. So if you come with the option to say, I want to pay on installments, we do require a deposit. You manage to pay that deposit, we believe that you'll be able to pay the installments.
Yeah, because I think what I've seen with most of our banking products is they are really tailored for the formally employed
Yeah.
person. And every now the stats are actually showing us that we are informalizing on a sort of regular, fast sort of pace. And if for a bank like yourselves that looking to expand and continuing to grow, it actually makes sense to have some product that actually is suited for the informal side. And then let's
sorry to
yes.
cut you. I think what people need to realize is we gain by your deposit.
Okay.
So if you cannot afford it, we're going to keep your money.
Okay.
So if you're coming through, make sure you can afford, because you'll lose your investment.
Yeah.
We'll have gained. So yeah, whoever's coming through definitely has the capacity and it has the paperwork.
Yeah, you see what? Sorry to interject there, Shumba. What you sometimes find with some financial institution, they've got these very, very onerous templates that make it very difficult for people in the informal sector to, participate in the banking service. So that's why I like what Tafadzwa is saying, that they also consider your banking history.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in some instances, though, even a bank that where you have banked maybe for the last 10 years, they'll still ask you for a payslip. Even all that they have to do is just to do a printout.
And review our
And
account.
review. And with AI now, it should be so easy for you to be able to analyze, the financial history of your specific client and see whether or not they qualify.
Whether they have capacity, what kind of
they have
capacity they have.
capacity.
Yeah, I was going to ask, I suspect there's folks in our audience who are investors, fixed income investors, and they struggle to find products where there's good security on the other side. And land is one of the best forms of titled land is one of the best forms of security in this market. So if somebody was sitting on a bunch of cash and was is watching this and thinking, hey, I want to participate, I don't have land and I'm not interested in buying a stand, but I could, come to the party with some capital and place it, as long as I understand that if on the other end of this, the collateral is property. Is there an opportunity?
So they're just coming with their money.
Yeah,
they
want to get a return.
Instrument.
They want exactly. They want to get a return. And they want to know that the collateral, because we've had a traumatic history with banking in this country. So some people will want collateral.
Well, we do have our asset management unit that could definitely create something linked to the properties that we have. So that's a new product. But it's something that they can consider. They'd get in touch with us. It's definitely something that's because definitely, like you said, our properties that the properties that we get into have title and it's secure, because again, it's our reputation. And also we do care about the client. We're not trying to just take money. We want the person to be able to own the property and have less of a hassle when they're trying to get title. So they should get in touch with us.
And the diaspora, I know there's a huge demand that comes from the diaspora.
Yes.
And what are you guys seeing? Is it also the market that you are targeting?
We have been so fortunate to be able to tap into that market. I'd like to say about 20 to 30% of our clients are from the diaspora. And they have also been worried to say, what information do you need from us? Because we're out of the country. And we're saying, no, so long as you're employed, you have a proof of res, copy ID, and you're able to pay the installments, go ahead, or if you have the cash. So there's definitely appetite. I think people want to come home, or people are realizing they need to invest back home. There will come a time where they want to come back home. So a lot of people have been buying land.
Yeah, look, because that's actually interesting. We have also seen quite a number of, citizens that had bought stands on some cooperative land, having some of the properties demolished, and it's actually a very sad one. I think just this week something was happening opposite the, I think it's St. Martin's, thereabouts.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah, so here these stories of on a regular basis, people that have really put in a lot of their capital, a lot of their money savings into these properties, and that's definitely where you guys like BancABC would come in, being able to provide something that is authentic and with all the papers. Maybe I just want to ask you about your marketing efforts, because it's probably these people that end up in the wrong hands. They probably don't know that they are these great products, and also the fact that they can qualify, assuming that they are not on employed formally. How have been your marketing efforts to try and ensure that this message goes to everyone that might be looking to buy a stand?
So our marketing strategy has been to educate a potential buyer. So we're not just throwing out adverts, and we've tried to let people know what they should look out for in terms of title, endowment, council, compliance. So we've done a lot of radio and podcasts with regards to that, so that when they do come to us, they trust us, because we're a new player in the market. We're a new player in the game. So we've done a lot of education, and then we've done radio, we've done WhatsApp, we've done Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, targeting everybody. On radio, we've made sure that we cover the whole of Zimbabwe. So you'll have our adverts in English and Shona in Ndebele. So we've seen that a lot of people are listening. A lot of calls are coming in. And those that are in Bulawayo are able to speak to someone who speaks Ndebele, which is a big, it's important that they're able to say, you're able to relate to me, because you understand what I need to know in my own language. So we've covered everybody who needs to know in whatever language within Zimbabwe.
Shumba, maybe let me just get your comment in terms of how you view property as an asset class. and maybe vis-a-vis what Tafadzwa is talking about and all these developments BancABC is doing?
Yeah, look, I think property is one of the safest investment classes in the country. If you think about all the turmoil we've had economically over the last 25 years, it's affected, sadly, our markets, equities. It's affected, plain vanilla money market, savings. People were wiped out by inflation. But I think anybody who chose to go the property route has done exceedingly well. And so property's got a really good reputation. People understand it, they like it, and they trust it. And it's great that there are new products coming along to help people get exposure. Because I think the major challenge is that the ticket sizes for property are quite big. So even a stand in a high density area is more than your typical Zimbabwean's annual salary. So the challenge is really getting credit to then participate in property, which is why your product, where somebody has the opportunity to pay over 5 years, will certainly make sense for a lot of people. And hopefully over time, as the market becomes more developed, the mortgage tenure becomes longer and much easier on people's wallets. Because I think in the developed world now, you can get 40-year mortgages. Yeah. So that's which is huge, and obviously the interest rate regimes are much cheaper. But look, we're on a journey as a small developing country, and I think this is a very good place to start.
Would you want to speak about the ticket size that is making reference to? So the properties or the development that you've done so far, what kind of ticket size are you sort of targeting?
So I'd like to say, when you start speaking to your landowner friends, can you tell them to keep the prices low? Because it makes it difficult for me to sell.
Okay.
So the ones that we have ranging from 24,000 to 70,000. So you'll have our smallest stand being 200 square meters and the biggest being 4,200 square meters.
That's about an acre, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it will cater to different people. So you'll find an investor will be looking at maybe the bigger size, subdivides it, and then someone who's looking to just buy their first property will be looking at the smallest stand. So 24,000 and above.
So is there any plan to maybe move to the next stage of the value chain and be able to maybe construct or help them build the properties?
Ooh. No.
A long term?
I don't want to be involved.
Okay.
I think we moved from that because it's expensive.
Okay.
And the market dynamics keep changing. So what we would have said would be the cost for 1 unit, things
Balloons,
keep changing. Yeah. And I think market needs are different. So you'll find you'll have a block of flats that we're thinking are amazing, and the market's like, oh, you should have done it this way. So I think what we've said is, let's service them well. And that gives the person the room to be able to build what they want. What we do have are some of our properties will have certain plans. So we'll share those plans, and then we're trying to make it uniform, the reason being the value for the properties. And some will be gated. So people are then allowed to have a set standard in terms of how it operates, how the whole estate operates. But no construction.
And do you have some projects or plans along where the new city is going to be?
We are interested.
Okay.
If anyone has got something that they'd like us to partner with them, please give us a call. Definitely. But again, I'm looking at very, very, very cheap land.
Unfortunately, my land is like 120 kilometers from Ara.
Where?
Yes.
We could
so
consider.
in Marondera, so maybe
That's perfect.
Yeah,
Is it your land if you just have an offer letter?
it's my land.
Tomorrow it might not be your land.
Yeah, or I'm used to that banter from Rufaro, but yeah, I think it's good. What we have been seeing or noting for the longest time is the stock of land in obviously in Harare or Stains actually has been dwindling, and we've seen a lot of renewal sort of projects where investors are coming into already established areas like Mount Pleasant, like Highlands, Newlands to a certain extent, and developing these clusters, these apartments,
Yeah.
and those kind. And if you look, drive around places like Avondo West, even Avondo itself, there's a lot of that going on. Maybe you might want to just comment on, that is an opportunity and how such developments are informing even your own strategy. What do you think could be driving that, the renewal process? Is it a space that, I know right now you're just looking for stands probably
Yeah.
outside of town, but is that exciting to you guys as well?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Because the neighborhoods that you're talking about, it's going to be more expensive land and fewer units that you can
Okay.
put on it.
Okay.
So it's going to be more expensive for us to purchase.
Okay.
But I'd like to say, I think if you own land, the structures that you put, you need to look ahead. I personally believe that the property market is going to tank. The prices are going to go down. And I find people are building double stories or in areas that should not have a double story. Offloading that is going to be a problem. This is what I think. So I think when people are looking at, I have this piece of land, I should put these structures, I think they should look ahead and also see what's around them to say, will I be able to get my investment back? Because building a double story in the high density, I don't think you'll get your money back, personally. I don't.
Yeah, I tend to concur. I mean, my concern when I think about all these clusters and the places that you've spoken to is, these suburbs, the initial town planning
Yeah.
was for in a place like Mount Pleasant, for example, for homes on an acre, right? And all the ancillary infrastructure, the roads, the
Yeah,
sewers,
for one
is for 1 acre, homes on 1 acre with maybe households of 5 people,
Yeah.
right? So now you're taking that 1 acre, and you're
infrastructure.
You're demolishing the house, and you're putting 20 townhouses,
yeah.
20 units, right? And each unit is going to have 5 people, so that's 100 people. And so that's 100 people's water consumption.
Yeah.
And maybe you're gonna have 2 vehicles per
family.
per unit, whereas the entire 1 acre home had 2 vehicles, maybe 3 at most. And you all want to wake up in the morning and go to work. The traffic is going to be
crazy.
absolutely excruciating. You're going to have, I think, somewhere along the line, you're going to see challenges with these models, because I don't see the necessary infrastructure investments happening alongside the
Yeah.
the cluster development. So I suspect we might have an unhappy ending in that investment story at some point. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
Is the demand there for clusters, though?
The demand is there because there's a lot of trapped capital in Zim. So in other parts of the world, people with excess capital, they'll invest it in equities, they'll invest it on the money market, they'll take risk and invest it in small businesses.
Yeah.
In Zim, people who are doing well financially tend to be very conservative. And the one area that's they really trust, apart from the safe deposit box, is property. So they'll throw money at the property space. So I think even if there are good reasons why you can argue that they're overvalued, I don't think that we're going to see a price correction anytime soon, because the capital flowing into that space
It's a lot.
is not slowing down.
No.
Yeah, also my take is it also then depends on your projections on economic performance. So at the current level of economic performance, maybe the demand might not be that great, but just looking at the fact that we have I've already alluded to the fact that we're a highly informalized market, and if Zim is to go through some turnaround or some growth trajectory, that I will see the reversal of that informality with all people coming into the formal space, I think the demand for accommodation is going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And also the type of accommodation. Just look at the demographics, and there are all these young graduates. Most of them are not in employment. So in a scenario where the economy is able to absorb most of them in formal employment, I think it should actually result in a greater demand and ability to pick up those kind of spaces. But right now, when you look at the investment, they are not really they're not demand driven.
No, they're not.
They are not demand driven. So these are people that are trying to harden their cash. So I would say even for the banks as well, we've seen quite a number of them putting up their head offices. Right.
You guys were first, actually. I think.
Yeah.
I think
But theirs it's been like how many years here?
it's almost
More than 20 years?
Yeah.
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 Because I remember coming here my very early days as an analyst more than 20 years ago. Yeah.
You're
So how
revealing
old
your
are
age.
you?
Of course.
And it was. I mean, it still is phenomenal. You know,
Exactly.
like I mean, look, I'm not going to disparage some of the other headquarters, but the the artistic beauty and architecture of this place is amazing and so far ahead of its time. You guys were literally the first bank to decide to build your own head office, and then it's now it's in vogue.
Yes, everyone is trying to do it.
Everybody's doing it.
And when you speak to them, really, what you get is they're trying to harden their balance sheet because you are not quite sure. Obviously, you don't want to keep your assets in Zim dollars, in ZIG or ZWG. Yeah, it's confusing. Whatever it is.
ZIG.
ZIG.
Anyway.
And
I'm going to get in trouble for being on the show.
or in nostrils because of a lot of things. So it makes sense to go into property.
Yeah.
And it's so you guys have done phenomenally well taking that route because ordinarily one would ask you why should a bank be in property? Because your core business is really...
Well, look, the core business of banks is lending, and in most parts of the world, the mortgage book is a very big part of banks' book. And I think that's the other tragedy in Zimbabwe, like from a macroeconomic standpoint, that you just we just don't have functional credit markets, So, but if we do resolve that issue in terms of our national debt, and you start having, global capital coming into the country for debt in a meaningful way, and somebody can walk in with their pay slip and get a 30, 40, 50 year mortgage. The pricing of property across the board, there'll be a step change. Like the demand will just blow up. It'll be, look, I don't see it happening in the foreseeable future, but it's a possibility.
Yeah.
And if you're still in the market when this happens, you will make a fortune.
So as we bring this segment to a wrap, Tafadzwa, I want you to speak directly to someone who says, I've heard you. What do I have to do for them to be able to, invest in these stands that the bank is selling?
Okay. So the first thing is you go to our website, and we are proud to say our properties now are all digitally mapped. So you're able to go and select and say, you look at the Barrington map, our stands are there. You choose the one that is available. You get in touch with us via email or via WhatsApp. And if you want to view it, then we have certain days where you go and view the property. Then you put your offer online. They can come through to any branch within Zimbabwe. They don't have to come through to us. And they contact us on our cell phones and our landlines, and then we give them more information with regards to that. But they should not be afraid to say, I can't afford. Because we have said, fine, the stand to you the price may be too scary. But we have terms that allow you to say you pay over time. And even if you say, I haven't reached the deposit amount, we have a product where you are able to say, I'm working towards my deposit, to be able to raise the deposit and start paying my installments toward that stand.
Thank you so much, Tafadzwa, for that. Folks, there you have it. Here's an opportunity for you to get stands from a legitimate developer. You don't have to, expose yourself by falling into the wrong hands, ending up buying those stands, and the city council comes and demolish them. BancABC here have got that for you. So thank you so much, Tafadzwa. I hope to I wish we could have you in the next segment, but yeah, look, we'll just keep it the two of us for now.
But I want to ask, do your guests then get taught how to appreciate a brandy or a whiskey, or he just drinks it by himself?
Well,
Did you not offer our guests?
Shouldn't you teach your guests
I
something?
just assumed that you're a teetotaler, like.
What if I'm not?
Okay, well, I can. This is actually a Courvoisier.
Okay.
It's basically just brandy,
Okay.
but because because it's from France, from the cognac region of France. It's called a cognac, and
Okay.
I chose this particular one because Napoleon met Emmanuel Courvoisier in Paris in 1811, and he was so impressed with the product he used to buy it and give it to his imperial guard to keep their morale up.
Okay.
And when he eventually went, when he was exiled to St. Helena,
Right.
he took with him several cases of Courvoisier.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's got a rich heritage and history, which makes it much more interesting to drink. So help yourself to a shot.
No, I just wanted to know. What do you drink it with? Do you have it with
Oh,
a
yeah, you
main
don't-
meal,
I-
or
well-
no? Did I say the wrong thing? I did.
It's
That's
okay.
fine.
We'll school you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
So on this note, see you on the next segment.
Thank you.
Welcome back to another segment of Friday Drinks, and now it's just the two of us. Well,
So you shouldn't take us too seriously.
yeah. Well, the first segment was great.
Yeah. I
um,
think I learned a whole bunch.
Exactly. So we don't have Mkanya, and there's a lot that we can actually do with. Last week we were celebrating the relisting or the listing of Old Mutual.
Yeah, on the
Limited
VFX, yeah.
on the Victoria Falls Exchange.
Yeah, there was a lot of trapped capital there. I mean, I think the last time I looked at it before it was relisted a few years ago, it's $40 million of capital that people had shares in Old Mutual that they couldn't transact, that they couldn't use as collateral, that nobody would accept as collateral because you couldn't trade them. And ostensibly the suspension was on account of some bad behavior, but it's obvious that to me that certainly many of the pension funds that held Old Mutual were not engaged in any bad behavior, and they were just out of pocket for the longest time. So it's a really positive development. Also, just from a reputational perspective, it left a lot of investors, the suspension, it left a lot of investors with a bad taste in their mouth. This idea that you can just wake up one day and be disenfranchised of your equity. So I think, the fact that we walked back the suspension and allowed Old Mutual to list on the VFX is a really positive development for capital markets. And hopefully we will see PPC relist as well. And I think that we rebuild our brand as a functional and exciting capital market, and we're doing a lot of interesting and innovative things. The minister launched a small board for small to medium enterprises in Bulawayo a couple of weeks ago. I think on the VFEX there's going to be an
The
exploration
board.
For mining companies that want to raise money.
And it turns out it's not just mining companies. Yeah, they actually. It's more like just a junior board for anything that you can think of. So last night,
so more venture than exploration.
It's more venture. So last night we had an event where the Victoria Falls International Financial Service Center officials were presenting to my colleagues at the Investment Professionals Association of Zimbabwe, and they were really talking about what they have been doing. Obviously, we have known of the center for some time now. We are registered.
Yeah.
Our entities.
We're members.
We are members there. But I think there were quite some very interesting things that they shared with us, and I particularly like one of the things that they shared around, exchange control. That the center is not going to be subjected to exchange control. It was created under or using the Banking Act, some SI under the Banking Act, but it's not going to be regulated by the central bank. It's not going to be regulated by
the Securities Exchange
Commission. And we asked them what's really is the ethos or the gist of this center, and they say it's about raising fresh capital. So when you look at that key objective and what we have seen with the listing of Old Mutual on the VFEX, do you think we are on the right path in terms of trying to, bring in that fresh capital into the country?
Look, I think we're certainly barking up the right tree. I think we did a lot of damage to our markets, and it was self-inflicted. But that's in the past, and we ought to be forward-looking. And to the great credit of the leaders in this endeavor, at the ZSC, at SIC, and Treasury as well. They've really applied their minds to international best practice, because the ideas underlying all these new boards and this international financial center, they're not original to Zimbabwe. They're inspired by other international financial centers that have succeeded, that have done it.
Dubai Financial Center being one of them, and then I think there's the Astana.
Absolutely, and there's they're looking at models that are tried and tested that have succeeded, and trying to execute that vision here. And I think they've done a great job. I think what's probably and we'll see. In fact, both of us are involved actually in bringing in some new listings to the VFEX. And I'm quite excited by the momentum and energy in that space. And hopefully, one of the things that I predict as a second order effect, from if this momentum continues and we raise meaningful amounts of capital on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange in a framework without exchange control, I think it's a sandbox for what could work at a national level. So one of the reasons why, if you think about the financial sector in Zimbabwe, we struggle to raise deposits. We always joke that the biggest bank in the country is the National Mattress Bank, because people prefer to transact in cash and hold their cash. They're not comfortable with the formal banking system. So I think if we see this VFEX and this international financial center succeed and a lot of capital flow into the country, maybe it will encourage the central bank to relax some of the exchange controls and some of the other rules and regulations that make people less comfortable transacting and engaging in the formal sector. And then we'll see a rebuild of our financial services sector. Because if you think about the size of our deposits and loans nationally across the banking sector compared to GDP, and you compare us to our regional peers, we're doing really badly.
Yes, because most of the deposit that's supposed to be in the banks, they are under the mattresses or in the safe deposit boxes. And again, it's linked to the informality that we were just discussing in the first segment, and also this worry and fear that the safety of your money. So one of the things that you'd find in the SI, the statutory instrument that created the center, is around the currency. So it actually stipulates that the currency to be used in the center is the USD and other easily convertible currencies.
Yes.
What do you make of that, and how was that significant in making sure that there is stability, and also investor interest is probably much higher than in the mainland?
Yeah, look, there's a reason why, if you think about our economy in general, the US dollar enjoys 80-90% market share. The informal sector is probably 70% of the economy, because you can transact in US dollars and avoid some of the penalties of transacting in the formal sector, like the IMTT, right? So I think the Zimbabweans prefer, it's unequivocal, they prefer US dollars to local currency.
I think they prefer a stable currency.
Exactly.
It so happened that the US dollar is, if this local currency was to be
As stable.
to go through a period of stability, people would have no problem with the local.
But I think the challenge with the local currency is not just the stability argument, because it has been stable over the last 9 months, a year plus, right? And kudos to the Reserve Bank for keeping it stable. But I think the challenge with the local currency is exchange control. It doesn't trade freely. And that's where the lack of confidence stems from. Because if it was traded freely and was fully fungible, I would be able to take my local currency Visa card, go online, pay for Netflix, pay for a flight to Joburg, and go to Joburg and actually just swipe with my Zig Visa card. But you can't. You have to jump through all these hoops, make these applications, tell your bank to make all these changes. It's really tedious and painful, and people just don't do it. They just use their US dollar accounts. And I think what I would implore the central bank is to make, if to demonstrate their confidence in the ongoing stability of the local currency, they must make it more fungible. They must make it easier for people to convert it and use it in meaningful day-to-day transactions across currencies. I don't know why that's not the case. If we are done printing, then the Reserve Bank has got nothing to fear from a fully fungible SIG.
I guess, like what you've said, the International Financial Service Center will act as some sort of sandbox. Obviously change is always very frightening. So I understand why maybe the authorities will be very uncomfortable with just making some wholesale changes. So I think that's why this International Financial Center is going to be very important, because it becomes some sort of a test case. So there's a high chance that the successes of the center would probably prompt them to sort of apply or adopt the same kind of attitude across the board, where they then realize that there's no need for stringent policies around movement.
Yeah, controls, absolutely.
Controls.
I mean,
and you actually the economy benefits from the free movement of funds,
capital absolutely.
In and out, and it's really exciting. And obviously, us in the capital markets, there's a lot that we can do. In fact, I see more opportunities than threats. I know some of my colleagues last night were like, we are worried about the monocurrency or the talk around the monocurrency. But maybe it's an issue that we've discussed in depth on this show. But I just wanted us to look at some of the things that the Victoria Falls Exchange has done, like creating frameworks for some new products. And one of them that really captured my attention and imagination is the special purpose acquisition companies. I mean, the idea that you can actually go onto the market, raise money with a pipeline in mind. What do you think of that?
I think that's a fantastic idea. I think Zimbabwe, one of the things that's missing from the landscape of capital formation is venture capital. We don't really, beyond family and friends, you don't really have active venture capital. I mean, we recently established at a national level the venture capital company of Zimbabwe. I think that's what it's called. It's run by our friend Tino. But in the private sector, there really isn't anything comparable. And I think that creating a platform for SPACs is actually going to lead to the significant development of the venture capital space in Zimbabwe, because for the first time ever, somebody with expertise and a track record in a particular vocation, whether it's farming or manufacturing, can say, hey, look, I've got these ideas that I think I can develop. I just don't have capital. So I'm going to form this special purpose, this SPAC, right? This vehicle, which is going to have these governance guardrails, right? So you don't have this risk that somebody comes up with this, a charlatan comes up with some very well articulated scam, and then you invest in it, and then the guy disappears and you've got no recourse. You've got these wonderful guardrails through the International Financial Center where that if the venture fails, it certainly won't be because the promoter was a charlatan, right? So you'll get because there's a lot of talented entrepreneurs and business experts who have failed to raise capital to pursue entrepreneurial ideas. So now they'll have this platform that's formal, that's structured, that they can speak to a market of people who actually have capital and raise it, and then pursue these their aspirations in whatever sector or area that excites them. So I'm excited. I think it's because Zimbabweans, because of the economic trauma we've seen over the last 25 years, we are much more entrepreneurial than the average South African, because their system is much more formal, right? You can just graduate, get a job, go up the corporate ladder, and do quite well. In Zim, the reason why our informal sector is so big and so entrepreneurial is because the opportunities are not there, for the most part in formal corporate. So I think this platform is a fantastic innovation in our capital markets, and I suspect we're going to see some very interesting listings, some very interesting and colorful personalities coming to the market with their ideas, to shake things up. And this is what we want. We want to unleash the animal spirits. So, I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. So the pain point for us in investment banking really has been access to capital. So, it's very difficult to access international capital markets or international financial markets because Zim, the economy is not rated, and obviously there are all these the debt overhang issues, areas, and etc. And trying to really get it maybe from the private markets has also been a problem. And for you, so you've got so many transactions that are really floating around, but yours have problem in terms of closing them because of the funding
Yes, absolutely.
The funding gap, and I think that's why I see that the opportunity to be able to raise money from the market, and you are raising the money from the market way before the acquisition. All that you have to demonstrate to the market is you have got the track record that you can deliver these kind of things. And I think there are quite a number of guys that have done some really good acquisitions or good kind of structures that could possibly benefit from, getting the confidence of the market. Because you want that robust mergers and acquisition space for you to be able even to support activities in the productive sector. So you might have some fantastic ideas where you can probably bring A and B together, but sometimes it's actually the funding. It's about getting to do that, moving the funds,
having the dry powder to take advantage of opportunities.
Exactly. So that's actually for me a very big one. I would say related to that is around infrastructure funding as well. We have seen, I think, in the last 5 years, a great deal of development, mostly in the road space, but also dam constructions. And most of these projects are being funded by the fiscus. And we know what that has actually caused.
No, it's problematic.
It's been problematic because it then created all these problems that we have seen. And so the Victoria Falls Exchange providing this platform where someone can actually raise money for the purposes of funding these infrastructure projects. I think that also is something that is really fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you think about it historically, when you look at the development of infrastructure in many parts of the developed world, it's always been driven and funded by the private sector. So that's why, like, I was looking up the history of bubbles, financial bubbles, that is, and one of the interesting ones that I picked up was the railroad bubble in England between 1845 and 1849, right? It was a new technology. It was much cheaper and more efficient than roads because at that time there were no vehicles, right? So it was literally horses and carriages. So you can think of, if you just apply your mind to the cost and convenience differential between a carriage and horse versus a railroad and train, right? So the demand was there, and it was, everybody understood that this was the future, and the private sector invested big time, and so much ahead of demand that it turned out to be a bubble. But they, over the years, it clawed back its losses. But the point I'm trying to make is that infrastructure isn't really a government game. It should be a private sector game. If you build a big mine or factory somewhere in the middle of nowhere, you have a vested interest in building a rail or a road or an airport, to move your product and people. It shouldn't be the government guessing whether there will be demand, which is why there's a joke about bridges to nowhere, where a bureaucrat is just looking at a map and decides there needs to be a road between point A and point B, without actually understanding whether
it's necessary
exactly
for that road to be there in the first place.
Exactly. So you have a lot of waste. Whereas if it's private sector driven, and I'm raising a bunch of money, it's my name and reputation on the line, and I'm going to have a lot of angry investors if I get it wrong. So I'm going to be much more efficient, much more thoughtful, and I'm going to be much more thorough and diligent about figuring out where exactly to build things. So I think it's a fantastic idea. I think our government should get out of the infrastructure business completely and leave it to the private sector.
One other entity that that can be licensed in the center is it's a mortgage bank, as it were. And I think the way I look at it is not even our discussion in the first segment, where mortgages are actually on a short end.
Yeah, so 5 years. That's not a mortgage. That's a loan.
It's more like a personal loan, right? And
Yeah.
but it's actually a reflection of the kind of deposit that is there. So
Absolutely.
you wouldn't expect banks to give out 25-year mortgage when all that they have are transitory deposits, and in a currency that has got a sunset. We know, okay, that one has been removed, but every now and then there are all these rumors around, are we going monocurrent and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So actually, I think
So,
that's a product that's probably worth exploring on the VFX, to say, because it's not regulated by exchange control, and you can actually create a product or a security which raises money globally in hard currency, and it writes mortgages that are explicit in demanding that all the repayments going forward must be in hard currency, and they can foreclose if you change the currency, or if you're no longer able to pay in US dollars. Yeah, it triggers foreclosure, right? And I think people will sign up if you genuinely want a long-term mortgage, and you are committed to paying in hard currency. Why would you have a problem with a loan provider saying, if you can't pay in hard currency anymore, I will foreclose? You wouldn't have a problem, right? So I think there's a huge opportunity there to raise meaningful amounts of money to bridge that gap in the mortgage market.
Well, so it's all in fine. There are all these positive things to say about the center, but what could go wrong?
Oh, what always goes wrong in this part of the world?
So I'm asking you that question specifically because I think that was the main worry or concern of my
our concern
colleagues.
is chopping and changing. So initially, when we created the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, one of the benefits of listing on that exchange was that if you're an exporter and you increased production, to the extent that you increased production, you would not be subject to what do they call them, retentions, right? And that was true until we woke up one day and we said, no, that's not that's not true anymore. That incremental production is subject to retentions. So I think that's where we have a problem. In the past, we've created these great incentives for capital to flow into the country, and then we wake up one day and we take them away without notice. So that's a challenge, and I think so. It's a reputational issue, and I think one of the things that perhaps would help the International Finance Center over there is if we, over and above issuing an SI, we actually went and we changed the law, and we created, we made it permanent. We were committed to not making any changes, at least for 10 years plus.
So I remember one of the things that we did around 2009, 2010 was to go around the world, London, New York,
Market Zimbabwe.
marketing Zimbabwe. Are you feeling more comfortable and confident to do that again? Given these developments at the center.
Yes, I am actually, and it's probably not because I'm personally bullish. It's actually to meet the demand where it is, because the interactions I'm having today with guys based in Joburg, London, New York, they're bullish about Zim, right? They're saying, yeah, you guys have had your issues, but the world has changed, and we don't think you're going to make these mistakes, some of the mistakes you've made again. So we're interested in exploring opportunities to invest in your country. So I think either we continue to live in the past and be pessimistic and miss out on all that demand, and other bankers will benefit from it, or we have to be on the front foot and actually realize that the mood in outside Zimbabwe in investment centers about Zim risk has changed. And we actually need to be proactive and engage those capital allocators and convince them to work with us to pursue their visions.
Look, you can't quite blame people for being pessimistic given our history and our experiences. And I must say, there was also a point in time where I wasn't quite comfortable. So,
Or selling Zim.
is selling Zim. You know, we are investment banking, stockbrokers. Someone calls you and say, you know what, I've got 50,000 US dollars. Can I bring it home?
And you're like,
I like, no, dude.
That's
Chimbomira,
yeah.
you know, and it's because in the past
we've been traumatized.
we've been traumatized, and you know, you know, some of the advice that you'd give to your clients in good faith, things will just happen because of a policy change, and you know, someone loses their money. You don't want a repeat
Yeah,
of
it's their
that
savings. I mean, people literally lost their life savings, and it's not something that they're going to get over in a hurry. You know, I've interacted with many people who got carried out in the 2 bouts of hyperinflation that we've had. So they're very, you know, so it's visceral, right? It's they feel very strongly about their experience. You know, and many of them, I suspect, may never actually seriously reconsider making investments here. But I think, you know, the nature of the markets in the world is that the guy sitting in London, for him, it's not visceral. For him, you know, he's probably had bad experiences in the Middle East because of the recent conflict. You know, the way they, you know, the way they think about the world and the way they look at them is completely different from those of us who've been here consistently for the last, you know, 10, 15, 20 years. And there's a lot of them who are quite comfortable with some risk, who are saying, you know what, we understand what your country's been through. We've seen it in Argentina. We've seen it in other parts of the world. This is, you know, how things work. We think you guys are on a path to reform and doing things differently. You'll make some mistakes, but I suspect you won't repeat the worst ones. I'm willing to take a view.
So, Shumba, if you were to give advice to authorities, given what you've just said about, you know, the trauma, the worry, you know, because of the experiences that we have had, but also this fantastic opportunity that has been created through the Victoria Falls International Financial Services Center, what kind of advice would you give them in this quest to try and bring in fresh capital? Because remember, the key objective of this center is really to try and bring fresh capital into Zim, and we need that. We see the pitfalls, we see the downside, and also the pain points of not having capital into the country. So you can't access credit, and this is affecting corporates, it's affecting individuals, households, and that's why I really like this whole idea of banks issuing mortgages or some kind of products to allow people to buy homes, because there's a whole generation of people that do not have a home they call theirs. And we know in this part of the world it's quite an emotional issue. I know in some parts of the world it's not such a big issue. So I think given that background, that trauma, the worry, and this fantastic opportunity, what's the kind of advice would you give to the authorities to try and allay the fears, but also maybe building on the successes that could come out of this financial center?
Yeah, look, so I think that we are blessed with a really fantastic opportunity to change the fortunes of the country, in a positive way, in a fantastic way. You've got gold at historical highs. The tobacco sector has come of age. We've got all these remittances. We've got capital markets that have reassessed Zim risk. So I think one of the things that happened after the war in February in the Middle East is that people had this perception about places like Dubai, Bahrain, Qatar, how super safe they were, right? They couldn't imagine things blowing up in that part of the world, right? They couldn't imagine the risks that became very apparent when this US-Iran war started. And when people have such a reset, they start to look at other parts of the world differently. And they'll say, so they say, okay, we thought this part of the world was super safe. Okay, maybe we got that wrong. So relative to the Middle East, Sub-Saharan Africa is actually not so bad. We actually look much better today than we did before February. So we've got this tremendous opportunity to do business differently and see a step change in the level of investment coming into our country from what it's been historically. When I think going through the minister's budget statement, our debt as a country sits on about 21-22 billion dollars. It's a drop in the ocean in the context of global capital markets. So if we were to put our front foot forward and we marketed ourselves properly in global financial markets, we could restructure our debt and we could literally see billions, if not tens of billions of dollars of new investment come into Zimbabwe. So, and that would just change, it would be transformative. We would lift millions of people out of poverty. We would have, double-digit, robust GDP growth. We would be in a really great place economically and financially. So I would implore the government to actually rethink the policy framework from a very aggressive growth perspective, to ask the question, because if you look at the forecast for 2026 this year, it's 5% GDP growth, right? And the question that the challenge that I would put to them is that we could, in the right policy framework, make that number 10%, 15%. What are the changes that we would have to make to actually make that happen? And let's have that conversation and explore some ideas around that. I think there's lots of opportunity in that space.
Thank you so much, Shumba, for those sentiments. I'm particularly excited as well. It's actually a great opportunity. Us who are in the capital markets, we should actually take advantage of that. It's really an opportunity to do something bigger and greater, and maybe take our country to the next stage. The authorities, by creating this center, have created a framework that we can utilize, and also have got a responsibility to the extent that we have got access to give them advice. I see this as actually progressive, them being able to have this, and it's good if we were to start seeing capital coming back into this country.
Yeah, and ultimately, at the end of the day, most capital is not going to come through when it comes to Zimbabwe. The guy deploying that capital is not going to look for a government official, right? He's going to look for a banker. He's going to look for a stockbroker. He's going to look for an asset manager, or he's going to engage directly with a guy who owns a business that he wants to invest in, right? So we in the private sector are the ultimate ambassadors for the country. So as long as we are not excited, as long as we are not jumping up and down and selling the opportunities, they're not really going to come, which was the challenge, over the last 10 years. You'd have all these really optimistic statements from the state, we're open for business. But then we, the practitioners, were like, yeah, but we're not really, there are all these challenges, there are all these hurdles, there are all these difficulties doing business in Zim. So we weren't excited because we didn't want to take people's money and then fail to deliver the returns that we promised. But I think that mood is starting to change a little bit. What sense do you have?
Yeah, look, I think things are improving a bit. And this has actually made things a lot easier for us in the capital markets, because we are in the front and center in terms of marketing Zim as an economy, Zim as a product. So it was good that we had all mutual relisting. It will be good if we've got PPC. It's also even better that we've got this center that is being launched, and I see a very intentional a strategy to try and grow it, develop it, have more players in the center, and ensuring that it's a great success. So, otherwise, no, thanks so much once again. As we bring this today's show to a wrap, I just want all of us from wherever we are to just observe a moment of silence for the disaster that happened in Kariba, and just to say our hearts are with the victims and the families of the victims, and we just pray that they will find peace and closure. Otherwise, have a fantastic weekend and a great week ahead.